Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of Big Match, a Korean action comedy from 2014 that stars Lee Jung-jae and Shin Ha-kyun. Choi Ik-ho, played by Lee Jung-jae, is a former footballer and UFC mixed martial arts star, nicknamed Zombie. When his older brother and coach Jung-ho suddenly disappears, the police arrest him as the prime suspect. Then, Ik-ho receives a phone call from a man called Ace, played by Shin Ha-kyun, a genius mastermind who designs elaborate games for Korea's wealthiest citizens to bet astronomical sums of money on, and conducted with real people in real time using high-tech gadgets and cameras. To save his brother's life and his own, Ik-ho is forced to join Ace's game and follow instructions from a mysterious woman named Soo-kyung, played by Boa. Using his wits and skills against multiple adversaries, including cops and low-rent gangsters, Ik-ho completes seemingly impossible missions. Now, a subsection of that plot synopsis sounds a lot like Bangkok Knockout, which I just reviewed like a week ago. Where you have that, this low, or I guess small group of rich people who are placing gambling bets on, the lives of like contestants against their will. So, that was an unintentional parallel between two movie reviews, but it is what it is. I remember Big Match being fun back in the day, so I was a bit surprised during my recent viewing this week when I realized that this is kind of a bad movie, really. The opening montage is useful because we get a summary of our protagonist's mixed martial arts career, but there's not much character development or story in this. The villain is a mustache-twirling, wafer-thin madman who smiles and laughs maniacally most of the time. He's just a nutcase. And the premise itself is also very unrealistic. I mean, the bad guys can hack into police stations and open prison cell doors. The cops have very poor motor skills and are not very good at their jobs, which does allow for some contrived moments. And none of the fight scenes are really that great. Oh, and there are a few special effects that are pretty awful. So if you're looking for a good quality film, you should probably skip this one. But with that said, Big Match is passable entertainment if you want something dumb and brainless. The pacing in this is actually very brisk, and the villain's challenges, he actually gives our protagonist a little microphone, right near his ear, and he'll tell him new challenges to do. You know what I mean? And then all these rich people bet on whether this guy can complete them. And his challenges keep coming one after the other, so there's not a lot of downtime in this. The film doesn't really slow down to the point where you got a half an hour stretch of boring character development that doesn't work, right? So that's good. It makes it pretty breezy despite its flaws. There is a comedic slant to things. I wouldn't say this movie's hilarious or really funny, but it's amusing. It's amusing, and it does not take itself too seriously. In fact, all of the actors in this seem to be having a good time with this movie. I mean, Lee Jung-jae and Shin Ha-kyun act with gusto, I guess is how I would describe it. Very energetic performances, and it helps to keep things fun. Lee Jung-jae is also in pretty solid physical shape, so good on him for getting in shape for this movie. He must have worked out. Shin Ha-kyun's, the villain character, is so over the top, it's kind of ridiculous. He chews the scenery and just hams it up, big time. But I liked it. And as an added bonus, Lee Sung-min and Bae Sung-woo have supporting roles as well. So, the cast certainly helps to elevate this film, even though the actors really didn't have a whole lot of character work to, not a lot of meat in their characters. Now, in terms of action, our protagonist is very slippery and difficult to catch. When the cops attempt to, tackle him and wrestle him to the ground, they just kind of, slide off of him due to his weird body contortions and, he uses gravity against them and stuff like that. There's some humor peppered into the scenes as well. The lengthy escape scene from the police station is probably the best set piece of the film, and that occurs in Act 1. And I like the overhead shots of that scene. You can see like the geographic distribution of all the cops and our protagonist and stuff. So I did like that scene. It was pretty fun to watch. The gangster fight after that is amusing, but a few of the camera movements and edits are a bit awkward. They have a weird digital feel to them at times. And as I alluded to earlier in the review, the fighting itself isn't really that great. You know what I mean? And also, they do use some poor digital effects at times. Now, there's one shot of our main character, our protagonist. He, swings from, the top of a sporting stadium. There's, the sporting event. And they're in this huge stadium, and he swings on the top of the stadium. And it's one of the worst shots you'll ever see in a Korean film in terms of, special effects. It's really bad. So just, be wary of that scene. It's coming. And yeah, the fight choreography is basic, but again, you have this concept of a guy constantly on the run from the cops, having to fight through gangsters and stuff that get in his way, and his goal is to, save his brother or whatever, and it's engaging enough because it just keeps moving. So in summary, Big Match really did not hold up. I for some reason, in my mind, I thought this was a better movie. It's really not. It's a very flawed film. But I do feel like it's watchable fluff if you're in a forgiving mood. Currently streaming on Tubi. And as always, folks, I'll see you next time.